G'day, and welcome to Say It With Guitars. I'm your host, Pete Cornelius. Each episode, I'll be digging deep and getting to hang with some of Australia's finest guitar pickers, songwriters, producers, collectors, and makers. I look forward to bringing you these fun conversations, and I hope you enjoy Say It With Guitars. Hey, thanks for joining us for another episode of the podcast. Podcast all about guitar. That's right. Hope you had a listen to the Billy Tarrant episode that came out a couple of weeks ago. It's cool to hang out with Billy and have a chat in his in the workshop right there in Devonport. Hope you've had a chance to have a look at his Instagram and his website at some of his beautiful builds. In today's episode, we're going to be hanging out with Tom Busby and Paddy Marshall. They're the driving force of the six strings behind Luca Brasi. So it was nice to hang out with these boys and have a chat over a nice cold refreshing beverage. So yeah, stay tuned for another episode of Say It With Guitars. Before we crack into today's show, I'd like to shout out to our sponsor, Mr. Billy Tarrant from Tarrant Guitars. Billy's an amazing luthier and he makes some real sweet instruments. I'm lucky enough for him to have built me a 00 size acoustic guitar, which I've dragged all around the country and it's sounding better than ever. So yeah, check out tarrantguitars.net.au, Tassie's one-stop custom workshop for custom-made guitars, all guitar repairs and services. Let's get into the show. All right. I'd like to welcome to Say It With Guitars podcast today. We've got Tom Busby and Pat Marshall. How are you, boys?
Good, thanks.
Very well, thanks, Pete.
Thanks for joining us on this balmy, what are we, Tuesday night?
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night in the balmy South Hobart.
Yeah, the coldest, worst part of town. But heat pumps been cranking all day. I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, or it's a air conditioner, or reverse cycle air conditioner for those mainlanders who are wondering what a heat pump is.
Yeah.
So today's a bit different. Typically it's over Zoom, but today I've managed to get in the living room and we've got two guitarists to chat to. So it's going to be quite dynamic today, I reckon. Hopefully we get to nut out a few world guitar problems and, create a few while we're at it.
I'm sure we will. We've had a few.
Oh, so many guitar problems over the years. Yeah. Still no answers.
Yeah, it's still an endless jam.
Yeah.
So, for those folks who might not know you guys as Tom and Paddy, you guys are from the band Luca Brasi.
That's it.
Who are also a sort of local East Coast band from my neck of the woods where I call home. You guys have sort of strayed from the nest a little bit. But give us a little background maybe on, I guess, Tom, maybe you could sort of start off because you've been in the band a little bit longer than Paddy, but could you give us a little rundown of how you guys formed or a little bit of,
Yeah, for sure. Well,
history.
It's funny I get asked this because Facebook memories today, 10 years to the day since Pat played his first gig with us.
Hey.
There you go.
Unless it was like posted a few days later. I don't know, but well done on 10 years, mate.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
The gold watch is in the mail. The band started like 2009. There was discussions of it. Tyler, our singer, and I put it together with Mitchell Dobson and Saxon Hall, who aren't in our band anymore, but East Coast guys as well. So we started in Lonnie. We just kind of wrote a handful of songs at the back end of 2009 and did a demo, which I think we put out in February 2010. And then I think we did our first shows a month later. And that's kind of how it started. It all seemed a bit of a whirlwind of the first few months. It happened pretty quickly. Our first show, I think we did like 7 songs. One of them was a Descendants cover. And then a few years later.
Was that in the kitchen, that show?
The first show was in Sophie Campbell's living room.
Yeah.
The first proper show was at the Royal Oak.
Yeah.
We definitely played a few kitchens that year. We played at our friend Isaac's kitchen.
Sold out the kitchen to it.
Oh, we sold out. Absolutely. Oh, those were like
Tea towel merch.
Yeah. Oh man, they were fun days playing people's sheds and stuff.
Great.
And then a few years later, 2012, we asked Pat to join on third guitar and backing vocals. Him and Tyler were in bands together in school, and we did an acoustic show, and those two guys were playing and singing together. And I was just like, these two blokes need to be in a band together. And if they're in a band together, I better be in the bloody band too. So I was like, hey, Tyler, what do you think about getting Pat in? And we don't need 3 guitars, but it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And no one needs 3 guitars. No. It's nice to have.
Yeah, it was fucking excellent fun. And Pat was still in Hobart, so we would just jam when we could and started writing together. And then Sax and Dobbo left. A few years later, then we got Danny. Again, East Coast guy. Grew up playing in bands with Pat and Tyler.
Yep. And
it's been the 4 of us since 2013.
It's a small list of East Coast drummers to choose from, really.
Wasn't it? We had both of them.
Yeah, it's a pretty small pool of players or even venues. Like, how did you guys go in the early days? Like, did you spend much time on the coast playing live shows, or was it more Lonnie, Hobart?
Lonnie and Hobart.
Still to this day, we've played very little shows up the East Coast just because of lack of appropriate venues. We did a couple of cool acoustic shows there last year before, middle of COVID.
Yeah. 2020. Yeah.
At the Memorial Hall.
Yeah.
Which was cool for that kind of gig, but not really for a rock and roll gig. Yeah. So it's something we've always wanted to do, but not been able to really find the right place.
Yeah, it's an expensive endeavour to get all the gear and PA and everything.
Especially the venues aren't equipped for those sort of shows.
It's not like going to the Oak and the PA's there.
Yeah. That's right. So you're sort of like creating your own monster, sort of dragging in everything. Yeah, and it gets expensive.
It's expensive quickly.
And time consuming, and you end up multitasking far much more than you think you need to, because ideally you just want to walk on stage, play the gig, and go back to your luxurious hotel room.
Mum's house.
But in the real world, you're out there, lugging in PAs and doing
and all the costs add up so quick, and then you work out, all right, you can sell this many tickets. Are we just going to be thousands and thousands of dollars in the red?
Yeah.
And when you're the little punk band that could, you just can't. Basically when we play Tasmania, that's supposed to fund the rest of it. Oh, it's a bit better now. We've been around for a while and we sell pretty decent tickets. I mean, for a shit band, we sell decent tickets. But in the early days, it was like kill it in Lonnie and Hobart.
Yeah.
Squeeze every penny and then lose it all immediately in your first trip to Melbourne or whatever.
Spend it all on flights.
Yeah.
That piece of water really makes it hard for a touring outfit to make any sort of living. It's good fun to get off the island.
Yeah.
It's good fun and it's great experience, good networking. But I tell you what, that piece of water just sucks out every penny you might have even half polished.
And it seemed like the biggest hurdle in the early days.
Yeah.
Like to get our first one interstate was felt impossible. Calling in every favour you possibly could. Eventually it happened. Someone heard the demo.
Yep.
And it did happen. And that's great. But like trying to get it to happen was brutal.
When was your first mainland tour? Can you guys remember that?
Barely. 2011 we did Melbourne, and it was an Australia Day show. These guys used to put on a fundraiser for the Refugee Council, and it'd be maybe 10 or 12 bands from all over the country that would.
Yep.
So we got to play with some of our favourite bands.
Great.
It was amazing. Like we played with Headaches.
Yeah.
Shane Collins, sadly no longer with us, but he was the singer in Headaches, and he used to be in a band called the Gift Horse. Massive influence on Luca Brasi. In the early days, they were one of the bands we wanted to be like. I remember playing at the house party on the Friday night and seeing this very tall Brisbane guy at the back and going, holy shit. And then just spotting all these Melbourne musos from these punk bands I really, really liked. And just it was a very fun weekend. It was cool.
Did you feel the pressure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember vividly Jamie Hay from A Death in the Family was in the crowd, and I was playing this song and I looked up and spotted him. And I was like, holy shit, that's James Hay from A Death and Family here. And then there was a bit in the song where it kind of stopped and I did a and I went down and like just cooked it. And I was just like, fuck. I was so embarrassed. But yeah, the pressure got to me. Definitely.
That still happens to me today, I reckon. Like
Yeah.
you see someone who's another muso in the crowd, like
Yeah.
for a band, you know, like, oh man, I've really got to be on my game now because
Everyone wants to be respected
doesn't
by
matter
their
like
peers.
how many other people are there. It's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
the peer pressure.
I love that, to be honest. Like a little bit of that goes a long way. I wouldn't want a muso in every crowd that I knew who was going to be like taking notes, but
Yeah.
it's nice to have a peer in the audience and to feel the pressure, because sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes like after a lot of shows, you can just sort of go into autopilot a little bit and just sort of like slip into the song you've played 100 times and, you know, go through the motions almost. It's always exciting, but sometimes you just find yourself slipping into that, especially if it's a bit of an uninspiring venue or the crowd a bit uninspiring. But to have someone in the audience who is a respected member of the music community, it's sort of, I love it. It makes you feel alive and, you know, you sort of sweat bricks a bit and get it done. And it's, and especially icing on the cake is if you get to meet them perhaps afterwards or and they sing a bit of praise. That's like, yes.
Yeah. And that meant everything to us when we were young and we're going over and we're playing with these bands that we loved. And getting a pat on the back, it was just like everything. Yeah, it was really, really, really fun.
Anything positive come out of that? Like, was there some networking or some sort of favours?
Yeah, well, we met bands from all over the country.
Tours?
So whenever we went anywhere, we had somewhere to stay. We had gear to borrow, or hey, our band's playing. Why don't you come play with us sometime? Or it was no like it was very. It felt massive to us at the time, but it is a small scene, so there was no like, hey guys, I'm going to put you on the big show. You're going to be hot shots. But everywhere we went from then, we had at least a couple of friends.
Great.
And then from that, you kind of met everyone else. When you got to their city, it was kind of the start of all of it. Yeah.
We always kind of just had, you know, one group of friends who was a band like in each city. So, we're going to Brisbane. Oh, we'll stay here. We'll use their gear. Oh, we'll go to Sydney. We'll hit this person up, use their gear. Yeah.
That's great. And I think that happens with a lot of genres that I can sort of relate to that as well with the sort of blues and roots crew that are very supportive and, especially like with gear and stuff like that. More than happy to lend their amps or
community
kits or even their cars, and because they know the same favour might apply one day if they want to come to Tassie and hang out and no worries. I got a couch, got a got a wagon.
I think that's why we do it. That's the fun. Sometimes I'm like, get this show over with so I can go and drink a beer with my friends I haven't seen in ages. Or you're at dinner, it's like, fuck, we got to go back to the venue. Sometimes I'm like that. Not always. I do enjoy actually playing music. But there are times when I'm like, the biggest reward of this is...
it's the hang.
The hang, 100%.
Yeah.
Let's get one thing straight. We've got a share of mistakes to make. The war's only in our head. So feel the shake, feel the jolt again. Feel it all just rattle away. The duty, shame, the world in its weight. The heart swelling, it's sore. It's rain, it's poor. Beauty in the everyday. Yes, we're wasted. And this is wasted youth. So kick up your heels, girl. We've got some living to do. Let the soul know that hair and dry out your skin. Don't let it go yet. It feels too good to lose. I just
That's great. It is such a rewarding, but it's good that it is rewarding because there are so many quirks to the touring machine.
There's no money, so...
So it all helps. So give us a little rundown on how do you guys interact, not necessarily on stage, but when you're perhaps writing or rehearsing a particular songs or an upcoming record or a tour or whatever, do you guys approach it as like, okay, I'm going to be the power chord guy and I'm going to play the melody, or do you just like see who comes up with what ideas, or like give us a little insight to how you compose a song? Like, how do you think about your own guitar parts as a collective?
I think originally it was probably I was the rhythm power chord guy and Busby was doing the shredding, because Busby had written the songs essentially in the early days, and I guess because I'm doing quite a bit of singing as well. But that's changed. Dynamics probably changed a little bit now where I write a bit more as well. So it's a bit more. Tom's usually doing more of the open tuning, noodly stuff. I'm doing more of the standard stuff, and it's kind of built around who can play what at what time. So if I've got a chorus part that's a bit tricky to sing, okay, I'm not going to be playing this lead riff, Tom. You have to play that. Sorry, that kind of thing. Yeah,
there's lots of pragmatism in Luca Brasi. There's plenty of bits where I'm in the weird tuning and the lead part's in standard tuning, or Pat, you have to play it, and yes, you're singing. So kind of suck it up, and you'd be very surprised at how often he's like, just works it out. Yeah. And every now and then it's just like we've arranged it, recorded it, and then at the first rehearsal before the tour is like, hang on, what are we doing? It would make so much more sense to switch things around. Even songs we've played for ages, I'm like, hey, can I play that part? That would be so much easier to get in the next bit. Yeah. So sometimes it's very well thought out, and sometimes it's just whatever.
I guess because we don't think about that when we're writing the song. It's just, lay the parts down. Yeah. Didn't really think about who played it. And then I played that in the studio. I guess I'll play that live without really thinking about what else is going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. It's a pretty nice way to have it if you guys can collectively just pass that on to the most easiest accessible sort of, like you said, if you're singing a chorus or you're in a funny tuning, that's a good way to attack it.
Yeah, like I said, pragmatism is always involved. What is going to make the most sense, create the less headaches.
Yeah, streamline.
Yeah, and, there's never any like, oh, I can't play this part. I don't want to play that bit. Yeah. We kind of...
In my head, maybe. I wouldn't admit it, though.
You wouldn't admit it, yeah. It's not like, it's Steve Vai versus Tom DeLonge or anything, you know what I mean? Pretty neck and neck skill-wise. And we grew up listening to a lot of the same music, so we kind of get what we're doing. It's not like, what is that? How do you do that? Yeah. We kind of get what we're doing, so.
Do you guys often find yourself almost coming up with the same stuff, do you think?
No, I think we've got two pretty distinct songwriting styles, I think. Yeah, quite different.
Yeah. Pat writes the hits. We have a joke. So a lot of the albums I've contributed the majority of the music to, let's say, 8 of the songs, and Pat's kind of got the ball rolling on the 2 others. And those 2 others are the ones that get on the radio.
You're right.
Prick.
You heard it here first.
No, I think it's 2 different approaches. And I think we're good for each other in a way, because I'm definitely like the keep it simple approach, whereas I like to write a song quickly. All right, that's it. But sometimes it's too simple. Yeah. And Tom kind of goes the other way. Like his songs are way more complex, but sometimes he can go too far. So I think between us, if we get together, we kind of reach the happy medium. Yeah,
that's cool.
I'm always paranoid of being pedestrian, and that is sometimes a good idea for a song, but why are there 4 extra notes there?
Yep.
Does it really, the chorus need to be in 7/4? That's pretty silly, man. What are we doing? And Pat will rein it back. Yeah. And then every now and then with Pat's songs, I'm like, what if we just do a little bit of something here, man?
Yeah. Just a little
bit of good
spice on top.
Yeah.
Bit of seasoning.
The seasoning. Yeah, cool. That's good. You guys can, evenly work that out and not feel the need to sort of have the spotlight or to sort of like fight it out for the
glory.
For the glory.
Yeah, not at all.
Really, this because Tom writes a lot of we've written a lot of songs in the past that haven't made it to records, and it just comes down to whatever Tyler feels comfortable writing the lyrics to, essentially. Because we might have a great song, but Tyler's not feeling it or can't come up with something that's going to work for him vocal wise, so it just kind of gets shunt.
What generally happens? Do you guys generally come up with melody and rhythm and stuff, and then Tyler puts words to that? Is that kind of the...
Generally, we just get the music ready and Tyler will write kind of words and some melodies around it, and then we'll get together and kind of flesh out the melody for the vocals. But all the lyrics are 100% Tyler. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
That's his. Yeah, I wouldn't even try and get involved. He's so much better at that than the rest of us.
I swear too much to write lyrics. It's like I've never expressed myself, intelligently once, ever.
Oh, you're sounding great.
Thank you.
Let's put the glasses back on.
Oh, hang on, here we go. Oh,
The intelligence levels are going right up.
Shooting to the roof. My soul world hunger. Let's go.
So you guys mentioned some open tunings as well. Take us through what sort of approach that is. Does the open tunings help you create, do you think? Like find new positions and new sounds, or do you kind of like go there by default, or like give us a little insight to that?
There's a lot of different ways I might end up in a weird tuning. Sometimes there's ones I'm familiar with that I really like. The common one, especially in our, I guess, emo and pop punk and punk rock scene, F, A, C, G, C, E. It's a bit of a standard tuning in that. I think the niche genre term is Midwest emo, if we're getting right into it. Yeah. But, that kind of noodly clean, emotional kind of thing that is seasoned in our music a little bit. I might just I'll put it in the tuning and muck about and see what happens. Sometimes I'm playing something, I'm trying to get a melody to be a bit more flowy, so I kind of want open strings in there and just find something that works. Or I've changed one string and then I'm going, hang on, if I change this other string, then I've kind of got this chord open. Oh, wow, cool. So sometimes it's very deliberate. Sometimes it's just sitting on the couch, half watching Test cricket, half mucking about and seeing what happens. Yeah. And then sometimes I actually can't play what I want to play in standard. I have to change a string and then ending up somewhere ridiculous. But
how have you gone to find these tunings? Is it through experimenting on your own, or is it like you've researched it, or it's sort of
both?
Other artists have done it and you've read about it, or?
Yeah, a lot of times it's experimenting. A lot of times it's finding out a particular song is tuned a certain way. Yeah. And then, a lot of experimenting though.
That's cool.
Like a lot of them, I haven't found a song in it and then learnt the song, go, cool, that's the thing. I've just mucked about, ended up in it. But then like talking to other people, they're like, yeah, I use that too. So it's not like some outrageously sick, I've got these tunings no one's ever used. It's always like an open D chord of some sort or an open A chord.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, it's not ridiculous, but I've just ended up there.
Makes for a nightmare for our guitar techs though.
Yeah. And then we tune down a half step live because easier on the boys' throats. Okay. So sometimes I'm doing the tech sheet when it's D, A, C sharp, A, C sharp, E. What's that half step down? I don't know. Yeah. So I'm like trying to type it out going, oh my God, what even is this? And then I actually got to get
And then there's capos on some of those too. So it's like open tuning, flats with a capo, and every now and then the guitar tech will be like, so just to confirm, the capo on the second, is that how it's written on the tech sheet? Or
Oh, you guys tune down and then put capos on? That's cool. Like we know.
Get the job done.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you can't dishonour a capo. I think they're a great little tool.
Yeah, they make you look cool. It makes you look like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think so anyway.
Yeah.
They can make a chord progression that's been used 1,000 times sound new just by whacking on the fourth fret.
Absolutely. Especially because there is two guitar players. Like even if you were to be playing the same sort of style of chord, you could just go a fifth up or a fourth up on the old capo and bingo.
We've done that. Like literally had capos in different spots, or someone's capoed and someone isn't. Just because you kind of get the best of both worlds. Like if there's two ways to play this part, which one sounds better? Well, we can do one each.
Yeah, they're a wonderful tool. And how about, I know I was talking to Paddy a little while ago, it must have been around New Year's, we hung out.
Yeah.
How you guys have transitioned from real speakers and wires and tubes and things to the digital world.
The computers.
Was that mainly from a touring perspective? Like, your luggage goes down to like this tiny little case as opposed to like pedals and
100%. We had a big regional run booked, which we hadn't done a lot of before, but we're playing much smaller places. And and just hiring backline in those areas was just going to make the gigs just non-financially viable. So we had a couple of mates who had the Helixes, and we hadn't really dabbled in them. We kind of, like when I was growing up, those kind of things just were terrible. So I just always assumed they were always terrible.
I used to always turn my nose up at them, always.
So it's like a 20-year gap where I just always assumed they were terrible, didn't pay any notice. Then a couple of our mates were playing them, and then we actually borrowed one off a mate and said, let's just give one of these a go. And like, if they work, then we could just take them on tour and we don't have to hire 800s and cabs everywhere and save us a bunch of money. And we plugged it in, like to a parent, to a cab, and it's like, oh, wow, actually sound really good. Way better than I ever expected. Yeah. It was just a game changer. And then we bought 2 of them for that tour and then have never really turned back. Like I still own my Valve 800 amp, but it doesn't get a lot of use anymore. Yeah.
And do you guys use those in a studio sort of recording environment as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
The last album was all done on Helix. 2 songs were done at a studio in Melbourne, and then the rest of it we did at home.
Yep.
And our plan was to record at home before the pandemic kicked off. I remember like all the interviews, like, you guys were stuck at home, so you recorded yourselves. Like, yeah. Actually, that was the plan. We did one song, did drums where we rehearsed, and did everything else at home, sent off to get mixed, and we're like, we'll see how it goes. And we're like, sounds good enough to me.
Yeah, sounds good. And just that's also a game changer now, just us being able to record our own music. Because before, booking 3 weeks in a studio when everyone's working, got other lives. Like I remember the last couple of records we did in the studio, it was like I'd work till 5, then I'd rock up at the studio. Tom would have been there all day, and he's like, you had hair at that stage, you were pulling it out. And then it was like my turn to jump on the axe, and you'd be there till 2 a.m, go home, get up, go to work. It was just an awful time.
Yeah,
it sucks.
Like the records can't but just really painful.
At what cost?
Yeah, what cost? Yeah.
Look, ideally, we'd all be full-time musicians,
perhaps,
and you just like live in a studio for half the year, and the other half the year parade around on stages. Yeah. But that's probably back 30, 40 years ago, perhaps. If you were selling huge amounts of records. But I think now we just have to adapt. We have to get smart at making music economically and efficiently, and keeping your sanity as well as your family and your your bandmate's sanity.
Yep.
And I think you've got to diversify a bit but it sounds like we're not giving in too much. Like if there was a sacrifice of a little bit of time, but you're gaining convenience. I guess there would be a bit of leeway for that. But by the sound of it, I actually haven't played a Helix myself, so I can't.
Get in there, mate.
We'll take you in after this.
Yeah, I'm on the fence at the moment, but I'm sure within the next hour or so.
I mean, for us, we do festivals, and Johnny Shithead and the morons play 10 minutes over time. I'm playing a backline amp, which isn't what I expect.
Yeah.
I don't know how my pedals are going to go. I need 10 minutes to tone farm.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, play 15 minutes over time. I just got to turn it on and plug it in. And if it sounds bad, it's my fault.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing running to our ears in the front of house.
Yeah.
We have cabs on stage just for stage sound, because it's weird playing a gig and not having something blowing air behind you. That's as old school as I kind of get.
Yeah.
And what we've gained, I actually think we sound better now using Helix, because if I played a tube amp, I either had a sick overdrive tone and a good lead tone, and a rubbish clean tone, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And I could never find the amp that did both, and I was never going to do the 2 amp thing.
Ideally we would, but we'd never made enough money to do that.
Yeah. And even like just rigging it all up, can't be bothered.
Oh yeah, totally.
So I just match the tone as much as I can to the record. There's Fender amps, there's Marshall amps, there's everything. And everything's programmed to 1 foot switch. There's no tap dancing anymore.
Yeah.
I always say, I work in a music shop for those at home, and I always say, when anyone's asking about this digital gear, I say amps are for boomers. But yeah, I mean, I think we were talking before we kicked off, I do kind of miss the magic of, you got a cool amp in a studio, you borrowed a guitar you never used, what's this pedal, and the magic that kind of happens.
Yeah.
I miss that dearly.
Yeah.
But what I feel like I've gained is I'm never going back.
Yeah.
It's just easy. I think it sounds great. It's consistent. It's, it's never given me any grief. It's never not turned on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah, you probably miss a little bit of that experimentation or something, because I kind of find myself I know the things that work in it. I know the couple of amps I like. I know the couple of delays I like. All right, what do I need? That. And I just kind of default to that. Whereas, in the studio, you might grab a wacky amp and, like you said, a wacky guitar, and it comes out really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finding new sounds kind of by accident.
Yeah. You kind of don't.
I'm sure, because I'm sure you guys have got edits, or not edits, what do you call them? Pre-saves.
Yeah.
For song by song.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
then I guess once you've got your set list sorted, you can just then go program it perhaps. So it's just like one press of a button and you're on the next song.
Yep, that's it.
Does that limit the way that you can, say, express, maybe on a particular night you might want to jump on a bit of extra gain, or maybe you want to find a fuzz or a wah or some sort of like other effect that is driving you that particular night? Because I don't know, for me personally, when I'm on stage, I really don't have a particular sound per song. I kind of go, tonight I feel like this fuzz is really working well with this guitar and this amp in this room. The volume's dialed in at a certain level and it's just like humming. So I'm going to like play every song with this fuzz or whatever. So I guess that kind of spontaneous creative side of it, is it still there to a fact, like to a point? Like, can you still like get in there and turn a knob and have something that's...
You can, but generally we don't. I guess the set seems to move so quick. I'm just worried about the chorus part coming up, they've got to press this button, I don't have time to think about it, to be honest.
I've always kind of had my pedal board and what is on for any particular part of a song pretty planned out.
Cool.
So I never really got into... I see what you're saying. It's an interesting point because, you've made a patch and the chorus is everything's on one button.
Yeah.
You can set it up so you can run it as a pedal board. Like you've just got an amp in there and you've got pedals, so you could absolutely do it.
You turn on and
you
off,
can kind of do half and half. So you got your preset. Then in Helix, it's called a snapshot. So that's where you program everything to one button.
Right.
And then you have the top half as stomp boxes. So if you were in the zone for a little more fuzz, like our friend Mitch, who got us into Helix, that's how he uses it. He has snapshots for what he needs, and then a few things are just on pedals so he can turn them on and off if he wants.
Cool.
It's very, very flexible.
Yeah.
There's a million different ways to use it, which is part of the appeal for us.
Yeah.
Even though we just use it one way.
Use it one way,
but like when you're going to buy something, you're kind of not committing to this one way of doing it.
Yeah.
There's, people use them with real amps and just use the effects.
Yep.
And maybe have an amp sim in there that's on a different thing that's just for the ears.
Gotcha.
So that's consistent every night.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a million ways to do it.
That's pretty cool. And it's probably a really good ecosystem design. So it is flexible and it appeals to a broad range of guitar players because, as we all know, we're not just like all the same. We're also
100%.
We're also individual in the ways that we create and the way that we play and the way that we interact with other musicians. So to have a product that does appeal to so many, broad range of players, I think that's a pretty cool bit of technology there. It's cool.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's multi-voltage too. So if you guys went to the States or whatever,
absolutely.
You're just like 110, no worries, bang.
Yep.
Excellent.
Spot on.
And I was listening to some of your music on the way down today in the car, and I did notice a lot of single coil sort of sounds. Is that because I don't know, for me when I picture heavier distorted style tones, I just think Les Paul's,
Same.
JCM 800. But I'm hearing tellies and sort of I'm presuming it's a Telecaster. I'm hearing like
There's a few of them.
There's a few tellies.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. A few strats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that conscious to break away from a sort of stereotypical sound, or you guys like the feel and sound of other instruments? And
It's funny, the Telecaster in punk rock 10 years ago was everyone had Telecasters. And I think a lot of it, like when I bought my first Telecaster, I'd snapped my Les Paul
right.
on the way to Melbourne. And I'm like, Actually, no, when I bought my second Telecaster, I bought a really bright sounding Telecaster, which I did not know how to bullet tone with, but I knew it sounded good. I wasn't touching it. I bought a Mexican one and put a single coil humbucker in it, and that was my guitar for ages because it wasn't going to snap on the plane.
Yeah.
And they look sick as, because Bruce Springsteen's cool as, right? And then also Jimmy Balderson, who recorded our third and fourth album, bloody loves single coils. And this is where I hand it over to Pat, because Pat loves single coils and is the king of the Telecaster.
Yeah, I started off humbuckers with my mate that always played, and then I don't even know when I got my Tele. It must have been around about when I joined Brasi. I reckon I got one, probably because you had one. I thought, I better get one. I just never looked back. I just love bright guitars, and probably too much for a while. Like, I think back when I played 800s, I think my tone was probably too bright. We used to have this weird thing where I was the rhythm player, but I had a really bright telly and a bright amp, and you were kind of lead, but you had like the darker Les
Paul into an orange
and a dark orange. And I remember Nick, our sound guy, would be like, I'm having trouble like marrying up your tones. It sounds a bit weird, but I think since we've gone,
he didn't word it that politely, by the way.
Yeah, I won't say what he said. But I think since moving to the Helix, we've sort of sorted that out a little bit more so the tones match a bit better. But yeah, I don't know. I've always just loved the tone of a single coil. Yeah. Telecaster my default sound, 100%.
And they're just a great starting point, I think, a Telecaster, because they're so simple.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you got the 3-position switch, volume and tone.
Yeah.
They're just indestructible.
Their headstock's straight.
Yeah.
So when the guys at a certain airliner,
they
they
fly really well.
Yeah.
They're just a great design. Was it 1951 or 1950? Maybe the Esquire came out, or the
something like that.
Telecaster.
Yeah.
and we're still playing them.
Yeah, great guitars. Love them. And and we've since recently got into Stratocasters a lot more, which we kind of, I don't know if we turned our noses up at them.
Absolutely turned my nose.
Back in the day, they're dad guitars, they're not cool. And then you find out actually they're really cool for some. Like if you do want the dad tone, that's the ultimate guitar. Strat.
That's what we call the neck pickup in Luca Brasi, the dad tone.
Or the middle pickup on the Strat. That's the ultimate clean tone. Yeah.
It's funny how comes and goes. Hey, like for a long time there, the Strat was very uncool. But I think we've gone back. I think we've all sort of like put that aside and we sort of played one in a store one day, and I went, ooh, I kind of like this.
I bought my second Strat
body.
not long ago.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, I play better with it. And I've basically been a Les Paul guy for the bulk of the time in Luca Brasi, Telly as well.
Yeah.
And then funny enough, I did a parts cast of the year I turned 30 because I'm turning 30, so I'll get a dad guitar. That's what I told myself. And then, didn't play it heaps because the bridge pickup was so bright. I changed it. Still a single coil, just whatever Seymour Duncan thing. It's a bit hotter. Started using that a bit more, and I was like, man, I kind of want one with a humbucker now. So I got a HSS shell pink Strat, and it's sick. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, they don't work for everything, but the things they do work for, they're perfect. Yeah.
It's so easy to play. What?
They are easy to play. Yeah, I don't know, just the contour and the weight distribution, and a lot of people get beef with the volume being so close to the strings, but I kind of like it there because it's you can sort of work your way around it. And
every guitar's got its thing that I wish was a bit different, but if you changed it, it wouldn't work. Yeah. Like the Les Paul, it's annoying to get past the 15th, 17th fret. Yeah. But they're sick. They're perfect. And you know what I mean? Like Telecasters, sometimes when I'm trying to change pickup quickly, I find it difficult. Yeah. But like, where else would you put the switch? It makes sense. And the same deal with the Strat. Yeah, each time I palm mute, my pinky's whacking into that volume knob. Yeah. Oh, well, who cares? The verse goes for 20 seconds. It's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if I want something different, I just pick up another different instrument. Yeah. Because that's what makes you play differently. That's what makes the sound different. Yeah. And that's why you have a variety of instruments in your quiver, perhaps. So you can get those quirks and sort of amplify the quirks, not just like try and make every guitar sound like the same. I find it weird, like being a guy that works in a music shop and having generally heavy metal guys are like, oh, no, the nut width is not what I thought it was, so I have to cancel my order. And they're very like, I like my thing to be exactly the same, and they're all exactly the same. They're just in different tunings. Yeah, right. And I'm like the opposite. I want all my guitars to be different. Yeah. So when I pick them up, it feels different. And sometimes you haven't picked them up for a while and it's like, whoo! It's like hanging out with an old friend. forgot you were cool.
Yeah,
You're really funny and fun to have a beer with. Yeah.
Yeah, all my guitars are all really different as well. Sometimes I just wish I had two that were quite similar because, you know, if you're playing a set and you're just changing a tuning and you kind of want the same tone, I don't have a guitar that's the same, so it's always slightly different. But yeah.
Or if you break a string that's intended to be on that song or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the guitar tech's like two guitars behind.
Yeah, yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I think you got to embrace the character of each guitar and totally, make it for what it is.
Yep.
100%.
Can't have too many guitars.
No, I keep telling my wife that. They are taking over her house though, so I have to one in, one out policy at the moment.
Well, Cheeks was in there in my studio room and she comes in and, how many guitars do you have? And I was like, 7, I think. He's like, what's that one there? I was like, that's Angus's. Like, my mate, that's not mine. He's like, and what's this one? I was like, I bought that 10 years ago. Like,
It's staying.
It's staying. Yeah. Well, when I bought the Shell Pink Strat, I had to sell something to get it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we're married. We got a kid on the way, trying to save up for a house. It's just like, I've seen a guitar I really, 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 really want. All right, you got to give something up.
Yep.
Guess this is growing up. Sucks.
I got the job and a woman of house, a girl, a dog. So what happens now when everything I'm told I'll need just leaves me low and empty? 'Cause I'm a million collisions, slow and out of rhythm, a chemical explosion, and that is all I told them. Getting old has made me mean. It's hard to see the good in things. I felt a loss in an ice-covered car, the dark, the frost, and the unending doubt. Everything I'll ever need is far beyond my reach. 'Cause I'm a million collisions, slow and out of rhythm, a chemical explosion, and that is all I told them. Getting old has made me mean. It's hard to see the good in things. I felt a loss. I felt a loss. I felt a loss.
I was going to ask, I do try and get some industry-related questions on guests as well. Like, I know that I've been listening to a few podcasts and a few audio ones have been talking about people's hearing. And I find it quite interesting because, I'm, 38, close to 40. I've been playing music all my life. I'm not concerned about my hearing, but I am concerned if I don't do anything about it, it's just going to deteriorate. And, without hearing, we can't play music.
Yep.
How do you guys approach that? Because you're all wearing in-ears now, right?
Yep.
Do they block out sound?
They do, yeah. And you can choose the attenuation as well.
You can,
yeah.
right.
They've got little, I don't know what you call them, little inserts you can take in and out. So I know Tyler's just changed his because they were cutting out too much and he really missed the vibe of the crowd.
Yep.
Like we do have a crowd mic, but it's not quite the same. So he's changed his to have less blockage.
And was that a conscious decision from an audio point of view or a hearing protection point of view, or is it like a bonus of both?
I'm trying to think how Tyler got into it just because he could never hear himself in the folds singing.
Right.
And so then I resisted for a while, but I did the same thing. And then I was like, oh my God, this is like having struggled to hear myself sing over the band, for 10 years. I was like, oh, this is amazing once you got it. And then We got our own mixer that we took everywhere with us. So we just get our own feeds for this mixer, and we get the same in-ears mix everywhere. So everyone's on it now. It just means you don't spend any time checking folds or anything like that. It's just plug in and you've got your exact mix. You set it, you save it. So there's no, you're at a festival and you're trying to get Busby's like, oh, more Tom's Pat's guitar or a little bit more kick drum. There's none of that. Yeah.
Again, when people play overtime and stuff, that's what happened all the time because the guys who sang had to make sure their stuff was adequate, and I just race over others. So I go, hi man, I'm Tom from Luca Brasi, nice to meet you. Make sure Pat's guitar's in my foldback wedge, put my vocal in it, we'll hope for the best. See you in a bit. Yeah. And, it'd be some gigs playing, I can hear myself, but I kind of want to hear Pat get some vibe going. And with the in-ears, it's just like, it sounds like you're kind of listening to the record. And it kind of feels like you're in a band. As opposed to my amp's really loud. I can hear myself in the kick and the snare.
Yes.
I know I'm in time, that'll do. It's so much more enjoyable. I definitely didn't want to go on in-ears. I thought it was, like, why do I need them? But just out of that, the boys wanted that set up. So, cool, I'll get them. It's been really enjoyable and easy too. Really easy.
Yeah, I enjoy it for the ease. I probably miss the vibe of having them in, and I also think it's bad for your mental health because you hear everything so clearly. If I'm playing a guitar part, I'm like, I didn't fret that right. My voice squeaked there. So right. So that can be a bit of a trap.
A bit more microscopic.
Yeah, definitely microscopic. Like no one's probably hearing it out the front, but you hear absolutely everything.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I suppose that. But that would that limit the sort of shows that you do? Like, are you stuck to in-ears now, do you reckon? Or is it like, can you go down to the local pub and do a quiet little gig and still get away with it? Or do you think now you've had it, would you be able to go back, or are you just like, this is how it is?
Yeah, with those acoustic shows, we just didn't use them because, what's the point? So, yeah, I think we can. Yeah.
Okay. We don't rehearse with them. So we play together without them. It's just ensuring the guys can hear themselves sing. Yeah. Because they just thrash their voices. Because when we were younger, playing those tiny little pubs, just the gear, it's not, as the foldback's not loud enough. And you can't turn cymbals down.
No. Bloody cymbals. If only we could turn them down.
And when you are playing smaller venues, the stage is smaller. Yeah. So therefore you are closer to the loud cymbals.
Yeah.
And then that goes through your vocal mic and all you hear is cymbals.
Yeah, absolutely. That still happens today. Danny manages to have the loudest cymbals in the world and nothing you say is going to change it.
Nature of the beast.
Yeah, it's weird talking about hearing. I got tinnitus when I was 17. I saw Against Me play in Hobart.
Right.
My ears have been ringing ever since. And I will go months without thinking about it.
Right.
And then I'll go through months where the end is nigh. Funny enough, when I got COVID, I swear to God, COVID made it worse. I had about 5 weeks where, you turn the volume up on the TV and I can still hear it.
Right.
So that's been on my mind since I was really, really young. Because then I moved to Launceston and got to year 11 and 12 at Launceston College and doing the audio design classes, and they talk about protecting your hearing and all this stuff, and people go crazy and jump off bridges and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, my ears have been ringing for 2 months before I got here, and I've only gone a fair bit crazy. But I do wonder, like, I'll probably have to stop one day because my ears will be so fucked. I've never got my ears tested because it's just like, what are they going to say? Yeah, man, right. Your ears are ringing. Yeah, and you can't hear shit. So
right. Hectic. How have you coped with that mentally? Is it like you said? So the COVID period was probably quite bad. Was that, do you reckon, because the world was quite quiet? In that, like there wasn't much activity. Going on.
It was weird when
distractions.
Yeah, when I got my first vaccine, I felt like you kind of hear my ears ringing, but that's normal. Sometimes I can hear it louder. And other times. And then someone mentioned that, I swear to God, I got tinnitus when I got vaccinated. And then when I got it, it was really bad. I just Googled it and they said, like,
Dr. Google.
Yeah, Dr. Google. They just said they haven't studied it, but it makes sense that it would affect your hearing.
Wow.
That kind of virus. And it seems to have gone back to the normal amount of
Right.
crazy ringing. But yeah, I can go a long time without thinking about it. I've gone months without ever thinking about my ears ringing, and then sometimes it's bad.
Yep.
And you can't think, and it messes with your mood. Like when I was at uni, funny enough, didn't finish uni, trying to study. You're in the library, and then as soon as you hear it,
you can't.
You're gone.
Yep.
It's over.
Yep.
So
We'll blame that for why you didn't finish uni then.
yeah. I've also got dumbass-itis as well.
Was that from the same gig?
Yeah. So I do wonder about having to give it up one day. Hopefully not for a while. I don't think it's gotten worse. I mean, been in a loud rock band for 12 years. I don't think I've made it too much worse.
Yeah.
I wear earplugs religiously.
Yeah.
And
had you worn earplugs religiously since that point, do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even when I was young, like going to the pubs and going clubbing, I'd throw, like if I went to Hotel New York and I'd throw earplugs in.
Just throw my earplugs in.
Yeah, because I had kind of long shaggy hair and I could hide it.
Oh, yeah, nice.
One time I was on the Gold Coast. I was really, really young. We had this boys trip,
Cavill Avenue.
Yeah, and we were out at some nightclub, and this girl had sort of sat down near me. She started talking to me, and then noticed my earplugs. And I was also drinking water because I was wasted. I was so pissed. I've been drinking all day, and I was the guy at the nightclub sitting in the corner drinking water with earplugs in, and she fucking gave it to me. She was so mean to me, and I was just like, oh, okay.
You're just like, sorry, can't hear you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, too busy blocking out the heaters.
Can you abuse me now? I've got my earplug out.
Whatever.
Yeah, right. Did you have zinc on as well? No?
No, but I was very sunburnt, I assume. Great look.
Great look.
Damn it.
Yeah, it's funny how those things you take for granted until they arise and they create a little bit of a situation for yourself. So it's definitely one thing I'm conscious of.
Do your ears ring if you've been gigging a lot, or is there something that's happening that's making you conscious of it, or is it I've been gigging for so long?
Well, it's just this particular podcast that came out, and it just made me aware of how sensitive your ears are. Like they are a thing that can be damaged, and they are a thing that cannot really be fixed. Yeah, with your sight, there's a certain. I'm sure there's a certain few amounts of operations that you can sort of get your vision back to a point, or if your leg breaks, you can just put a fake one on, perhaps. Cruise around. But your ears are like a vital part of our, not only our musician's life, but our general, day-to-day human activities.
Yeah.
So, it hasn't caused me a problem, but I am aware of it and I try and do plugs too. I think it's a long game. I think you put them in, and within 2 minutes you're hating it. But I think it's a persistence that's worth it.
Yeah. I think I've always been pretty careful with. I even remember in high school I wore earplugs. I'm not sure, someone must have got us onto it. I haven't really had any issues with my ears, but my dad just woke up one morning and he just lost hearing completely in one of his ears. Like he went to bed with like a cold, and it just never came back. And that's like terrifying. Yeah. Like I know that did his head in for, a couple of years until he got used to it. But like the thought of that for me is like not being able to put on headphones and hear stereo. That's like, oh no, that must be so awful.
Well, even just your orientation, like your whole body relies on, 2 ears to sort of tell what is coming from where, and just your balance and all this sort of stuff. It's all related. So I was just keen to hear your perspective on that. And I'm glad I've got a quiet drummer.
Wish we did.
Damn you, Danny.
Yeah, you can borrow him anytime you like.
Oh, excellent.
Let's think about touring hacks. Is there anything that you guys have nutted out or worked out the way to get in and out of an airport, or maybe actually I've got a fond memory of catching up with you guys in the Melbourne airport once. I think I was on my way to a gig.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any transport booked. I was just like going to bus it or cab it. And you guys had a car. You're like, come in with me. Yeah. I was in the car. So we cruised around. I think you dropped me off at the ABC, and
hell yeah, man.
Happy days. That was cool. Have you guys got any other little hacks like that? Or not? That was a hack. That was just a friendly gesture. But
it's easy to sleep on the plane if you're real pissed.
Yeah. Sleep on the plane is probably the first tip. Like I think we've got a few of us who aren't great sleepers. It's like as soon as we get on the plane, it's like everyone's just out, and you know the photo will go round in the messenger thread of someone like this, like with the neck like this. Yeah. So sleep when you can's probably the one. Since we've got a couple of dads in the band, we've got 3 dads in the band now, but like after the gig, the 2 dads usually go to bed because we know, that's our best chance to get some sleep is on tour. Whereas Tyler and Tom will be out partying until,
God knows how long.
God knows how long. Tyler's a little bit more careful because like losing the voice is a very real.
I don't sing, so I don't give a shit.
Yeah, Tom doesn't worry about that. But yeah, protecting the voice is probably like the key one that we've discovered. Like, I don't know what we did back in the day. We just used to scream, I presume. But like now I find it so easy to lose my voice, and it's not from singing, it's from drinking and talking to people at the pub or at the venue, wherever you are. So now it kind of sucks because I want to go say hello to everyone. But now I've kind of got to like hang back and, wait till the gig's over before I go and talk to people. Otherwise, like night 2 comes around, I've got nothing left in my voice.
And I think the voice is so lifestyle driven as well, or so influenced by lifestyle. Like if you do stay out late at night, it might not necessarily just be the talking, maybe it's just the lack of sleep, or maybe you haven't had enough water, or you die. I don't know, I remember reading a rock and roll guide to singing book when I was a kid, and like everything just kills your voice.
Literally everything.
I think I got through like 4 or 5 pages and went, this is shit.
It's depressing.
It's depressing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the voice is one thing that, you can put a new set of strings on and you're good as gold, but you can't put a new bloody larynx in.
Yeah, I've definitely done a few shows where there's just been nothing there, and it's not fun. It's not fun at all. Yeah.
It's like the first thing people notice, like if they're going to see a band, if the singing's a little off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And these days, I hate to sound like a grumpy old man, but everyone's got backing tracks now. We could play a festival. I swear to God, we're the only ones that don't.
Wow.
And so how are you supposed to compete with Mr. Mime and the Mimers when you've thrashed your throat?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just crap timing. Like it's not even, I stayed out too late. I've seen so many times the boys have lost their voice just out of shit luck or have been sick that week.
Yeah.
Like it must be.
Generally, it's our fault.
Yeah. Oh, it's been so many times it was their fault. Yeah.
Get a bit excited. It's usually the first night because you
first night fever.
First night of tour, like everyone's a bit excited, and then you got to rein it in.
And you pay for it the next bloody 2 or 3 shows. It's like, what was I doing?
Yeah.
But it was great fun.
Yeah, it was fun at the time.
Yeah. Tell us about this Wiggles cover you guys did.
Oh yeah. How did we get approached? We just got approached by the label to do it. They said they're doing a Wiggles cover album. Do you guys want to be on it? Like, yeah.
Dad cred.
Yeah, dad cred. Like, I might actually get some dad cred here. My kids might actually think I'm cool for a second. And they had a list of songs. I think like some bands already chosen some songs. So we're kind of going through, what could we choose? We had a couple. And like the Shimmy Shack was there and I was like, that's like a very Ramonesy style chord progression. I reckon we could do that pretty easily.
Yeah.
And I think you and Tyler were going to come round to just have a crack at doing something, but maybe you were sick or you couldn't come or something.
I had to go to the hospital that day with chest pain.
Oh, that's right. You thought you were having a heart attack.
No, I thought of something with my stomach, and then they started testing my heart, and I was like, and I walked to the hospital from work. I went, I'm feeling terrible, I'm going. And then they started testing my heart. I was like, of course I'm going to die after walking to the hospital with a heart attack. And then it was all done. They're like, we've tested you. No, whatever is going to kill you, it's not this. And then I said, what is it, Doc? I was like, it could be anything. Might have just strained a muscle. So I wasn't on that song.
Yeah, right.
For a very embarrassing reason. I had a sore tummy.
But yeah, what I was going to say is you said, I can't come, but here's like how I think we should play it. And you sent me a video clip of
I forgot that.
you playing it. And
I'd
had to think about it. And it was basically exactly what I was thinking, except maybe you changed one of the chords. I was like,
I changed one of the chords, yeah.
We're on the same page. That's easy. And then, it just came together really quickly. Like it's just power chords with a fast drum beat, and it was just really easy and fun.
It would have been fun. It would have been almost like a hark back to your original early days of, because I imagine that sort of material, because it has memories of probably childhood for yourself. Like I'm not sure. I wasn't quite in the Wiggles generation.
Yeah, me either.
But I'm sure it would have triggered some sort of like youthful energy or fun factor?
Yeah, definitely fun, and we had fun with it because if you listen to it, the drum roll at the start is just obnoxiously long because there's in the Wiggles version there's this tiny drum roll. It's like no, not even. I think it's something like that.
Yeah,
like let's just make that like go for like 4 bars or something stupid. So it's like just like the stupidest drum fill you could. Yeah,
that's great.
We always try and like embrace those things with a good attitude, like. We don't take ourselves very seriously, and when there's an opportunity to do something like this, it's like, this is so sick. Let's make sure we have maximum fun with it.
Yeah.
And then, when we got to play with the Wiggles, we all rocked up in the coloured shirts and did we close with it? We played it towards the end of the set.
Played it, definitely. Yeah.
And then someone filmed it and sent it to the is it Paul Field? That's his name, isn't it? The guy that co-wrote the song with Anthony.
Right.
And then he posted it on Instagram, like, oh, Luca Brasi playing a song I wrote with my brother. How cool. I was just like, oh, man, what an honour.
Yeah. Full circle stuff.
Yeah.
And you guys are quite iconically Tasmanian. I know a lot of your merch is very branded in the Tasmanian thing. It's a great, not only, I guess, business model, but it's a great kind of ambassador for the state. And it's quite cool, I wouldn't say cute. Cute's the wrong word. What's like a masculine version of cute?
Cute.
There we go. Daddy's pretty cute.
Yeah.
I like it. And it's always a little bit retro. Not retro as in like 50s retro. It's kind of like, it looks a bit like VHS retro.
Yeah.
So that stuff. Are you guys all part of that machine? Like, are you all got input when it comes to the face of the band, or is it all like controlled by
label, or we all sort that out, but a lot of the times it's picking the right people to do your art.
Yeah, choosing the right
very
person.
very rarely give an idea. It's usually present a vibe, and some of these people that do art we've known for forever, so they kind of know us.
Yeah.
I think the Tassie thing probably started because I don't know, when the band first started going to the mainland, it was like, oh, you guys are from Tassie, like what? Like, Tassie's so uncool back in the day.
Oh,
yeah. And I think
you get it, right?
Yeah. And it wasn't really until we started doing like quite well for ourselves that people are like, oh yeah, Tassie's really cool. And so like ever since like that early stage, we've just like, all right, you want to make fun of us? Yeah, we'll make everything about Tassie. So literally, all our merch, all our banners have Tassie stuff on it, just to really, stamp that logo everywhere.
Do you have any T-shirts with like 2 head holes?
I think no, but Richo's got the tattoo. He's got
like
the scar.
Fantastic.
There is the photo shoot we did for Stay. There's that one where we've all got the heads.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Which is kind of a joke on that as well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I think it's classic, and totally embraced it. Like, when I first started touring the mainland too, I was like, "You from where?"
Yeah.
You used to just get so many like incestual jokes. And
people would take the piss out of us.
Take the piss pretty bad.
The thing that pissed me off the most was like a year or two in, and people would, say nice things about your band. They're like, so when are you moving to Melbourne? and I've said this so many times of like, it can't possibly matter to you that we flew here from Launceston or Hobart as opposed to getting an Uber from Fitzroy. Like, it can't matter where we based.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You either liked the show or you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I always thought that was weird. And I get a little bit stressed when I have a younger musician friend that goes, I'm moving to Melbourne. Yeah. I'm like, everything seems so much harder over there. I don't know if we've just had it easy with, where we rehearse and what we do and how close we live to each other and all of that. It just seems impossible over there. And I swear to God, 10 or so years ago, there were Tasmanian rock bands that moved to Melbourne and then just split up.
Yeah,
definitely.
I could count on, hands and toes.
Yep.
How many people I know that have made the migration to Melbourne because of all the bright lights and all the potential of all these venues and then potential of labels and then just like losing the dream because they can't afford to eat, pay rent, so they have to go and get a job at flipping burgers or whatever, and then they have to sell their gear to survive. And then next minute they're pushing pens around an office, or they've just changed. I'm not saying it's losing the dream's a bad idea, but I'm just saying that it can sort out a lot of people.
It's not a guarantee. Yeah.
No, definitely not a guarantee. And I think, like, I wonder if we had have ever done that move, like, what would have been our appeal to, I guess, the wider community? Because that really is the thing that sets us apart from the other mediocre punk rock bands out there, is that we were from Tassie, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't know how we would have ever, marketed ourselves, for lack of a better term.
I can't see what we would have gained at all, ever.
Yep.
Even when I was young, I was like, what possibly would be gained?
Yep.
Nothing.
Yep.
And then over the last few years, you see younger bands mention us and say they did it, so we might as well.
Yeah.
And that's probably the thing that gives me the most amount of warm fuzzies of, you can do it in a way that suits you.
Yeah.
And we're not the biggest band in the world, but we did pretty good for four morons from St. Helens and Scamander. You know what I mean? Like, way more than I ever thought we'd ever do.
Yeah.
And, we didn't have to move to Melbourne. Thank fuck.
Yeah.
When I'm not choking up, not completely, maybe it's best not to know what's next. When the cheap retreat from the August breeze could blow me off my feet. Don't call it a keepsake when none of us are brave. God damn, I'd like to spend some time, a bigger slice of you in my selfish life. I know there's years, don't count them up. There is nothing but this selfish love that matters much. I watched all the lights.
What annoyed me was people were sort of prescribing a way to do it to us. And if you don't do this, you're really robbing yourself of joy and music and opportunities. I never liked that at all. And that's going back to what I was saying before about younger bands saying that there's kind of seen us as an example.
Yeah.
And that kind of gives me relief. Because some people do go to Melbourne or Sydney and kill it and have an awesome time.
Yeah.
And it works out perfectly for them. I just don't want young people thinking they have to.
Yeah.
Because that's ridiculous.
I think we were fortunate to find that scene that we did, which was quite small but had little pockets in each city. So it didn't take long for us to have connections all around the country. So I can see the appeal why people might want to go to Melbourne if they don't really have a scene they're a part of. Like, I've got to be part of something.
Yes.
Whereas we were able to do that pretty quickly with a few trips to Melbourne and meet people, like, luckily that way. So I guess that's the thing. If you don't have the connections, it's hard, I imagine. Yeah.
And I think just having a good head on your shoulders and a good rapport with not only audience members, but with your peers and colleagues and venue owners, just sort of being able to have a good chat and sort of just like not expect the world, just like enjoy what you do and just sort of take it in your stride and have fun with your music, like you said, we're talking about having the fun element. Like it's just got to be good fun, because I tell you what, it's
not always fun.
It's not always fun.
Sometimes it sucks. I mean, a few times I'm like, what is the point of this? And usually you get reminded quickly.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a little longer for a while, but there's that sense of community that always filled me with the most joy of touring and being in a band. Because there have been times, I mean, we have behavioural issues at shows we have had in the past. And as our band was getting bigger, like on the back of our third album, things were grim a few times with some really poor behaviour from punters. All these new people come to the show and X amount of them weren't buying into what the vibe was. And I was like, what is the point of this? Is this just the playground for fucking idiots to do their worst?
Yeah.
And it seems a bit better now, but then you're kind of reminded of the community you're a part of, the kind of message you want to put out to the world, how you want to present yourselves, looking after each other, not just bandmates, but
Yep.
everyone in the community. You kind of buy into the vibe is the word I use. Be a better word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right too, Pete. A little bit of kindness and respect, like for everyone else about, goes a very long way. Like I know we've probably got a lot of opportunities just because we've made an effort, you know, to talk to the venue staff, or you know, to look after the support bands, you know, use all our gear, whatever. Like it goes a really long way, and I think sometimes that gets underrated with perhaps with bands starting out. Like you could go a long way just by, you know, showing a little bit of care and kindness to everyone else involved.
Yeah.
I remember we played, this is my favourite story of an ego, like kooking it. We played in Devonport in the early days, and Dobbo, our old guitar player, was having amp trouble. And he said to the guy whose band was headlining that night, I'll add one more thing. It was a young band from Devonport's EP launch.
Right.
They invited us to play. The guy who booked the venue said to them, you're not good enough to headline. My band will headline. Dobbo's amp's not working at soundcheck. Excuse me, mate. May I please borrow your orange? My amp's gone.
Yep.
No, man, no way. I've got that dialed in. Oh, okay. And we've only played with Ride the Tiger and Ballpoint and Link Lefevre and Phoenix. What was Betty's? Yes, thank you. And you know, Half Mast and all those guys that we'd hung out with. That's who we play with. They'd do anything for you.
Yeah.
I was shocked when I heard that guy say it. I was like, what else are we going to fucking do?
Yeah.
We played, the EP launch band played, I'm not naming names, they played, sick night, everyone's having fun. Everyone left when the good headline band played. Like literally everyone was like loading out cases, like, see you fuckheads, like
Yeah.
it was unbelievable. And I always think of that as the classic example of why are people dickheads in rock and roll, especially like, I mean, who even are you, man?
Yeah.
But for the good of what? Like for his tone?
Yeah. Like,
Or was that like purely an ego?
that was my impression
Status
of
kind
it.
of
Like,
comment.
Yeah. And it's just like they were so rude to these young guys that were putting out their first EP. They're like 18 and 17 and they invited us along, which was sick. And they were just pricks the whole time to all of us.
Yeah.
And I was just, why are you doing this?
Yeah. That's right. And it gives a bad taste, doesn't it? Like as soon as you get one group like that who kind of like, which put a bad taste in people's mouth, and then you get associated with that quite easily as well. So you just got to be the best person you can. Just be nice to anyone out there who's nice to you. Yeah. Well, even if they're not nice to you, I suppose. Give them a bit of a time.
Especially when people's gear's like kooking it, and like when you're a different city, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Like
Some bands are so like we've done support tours in the past where people are so precious, and I understand it. You know, they got their gear set. You're not touching it. You guys. Yeah. We've done shows where like there's been backline at headline band, second support backline in front of that. Yeah. And we've had a third set of backline in front of that. And you're literally standing on the edge of the stage. It's like, whatever, like I get it. You know, it's a big thing. But like when we're headlining and support bands are playing, we're like, just jump on the drum kit. Don't worry. Yeah.
Our techs hate it.
Yeah. Use the cabs, use everything. Just bring your cymbals and your kick pedal. Like that's all you need. Like, because who cares?
For us, I think we just want less gear, and it's so annoying when you're loading all that shit out. Like,
absolutely, and changeover times, and then like it's an engineer's nightmare if you've got to mic up 3 different drum kits on the night.
Yeah,
you know, things like that. It's just it's a pain in the ass, and it's something that you shouldn't have to do.
Yeah,
totally. I've been in that situation too, like where you got to lug your stuff on and like don't touch or don't even like look at their gear.
It's going to break if you look at it.
Yeah, you feel like, you know, you're the teenager, but your parents have made you sit at the kids' table at Christmas still. It's like, no, I'm not a little kid anymore. Like,
yeah. But I don't want to eat my veggies. No, it's a funny old scene, but it's a good old scene that we placed ourselves in.
Yep. Yeah.
Have you guys been working on anything? Is there any albums or songs in the pipeline? Or I know that you did was it a soundtrack or a song for was it like a Brand Tasmania song?
Yeah, we did a instrumental track for their campaign.
Yep.
We're invited to do the song for that, which was
actually a really awesome experience to get invited. I'm not sure why they invited us, but they did. And Tom basically wrote that whole song and just smashed it out of the park. And I guess I'm not sure if you're already working on that kind of music.
Yeah.
But since Tom's been working on his own side project he's got a whole album of post-rock music, which is amazing.
Great. Thank you, Patrick.
He's just got to finish it. I keep saying it's like Guns N' Roses' Chinese Democracy. I'm not sure I'm ever going to see the end of it. There's always going to be one more guitar to put on it.
Yeah, it's driving me crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, but also we're working on album number 6, which is insane to say that we're working on our 6th album. You know, most of my favourite bands put out an EP and an album, and that was it. So to think we've managed to stay this long's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And we've actually just got 2 of those back mixed now, so we'll probably try and get a song out the later half of this year.
Yep.
And probably another one early next year and build a tour around that, and then I guess album next year sometime.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you'll release singles up until that point kind of thing? Is that your approach?
I know what we've done the last couple of albums where we've gone and recorded one song or maybe 2 songs, and we'll put those out, and then we'll kind of do the rest of the album later.
Right.
So I know the last album, there was a song on it that was well over a year old. But by the time the album comes out, no one really cares because we ummed and ahed. Is that a dumb thing to do?
Yeah.
And I said, I kind of want all those songs together because they're bookended for me, you know.
Yep.
And if one's been out for a year before the rest come out, I don't really care. And then what we found out quickly, no one else cares either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that wasn't really the done thing for a while, but people seem to keep putting smaller amounts of music out more regularly.
Yep.
As opposed to nothing. Here's a single and there's an album next month.
Yep.
Yeah.
It seems to have changed. Would you agree with that?
It's that whole way people consume things now is like they move on to the next thing so quickly, and this just buys us time essentially. Like album's been out. The last album came out, what was it, January last year? But it feels forever ago.
Yeah.
And if we were to wait another 2-3 years, people are like, look at who? Like, who's that?
Yeah.
So this is kind of like keeps things ticking over until we can get the album finished and get it out.
Do you
there.
find it cohesive enough? Like I know that, so if I'll go and track something and 6 months later I'll go and try and, just for the sake of this argument, I'll try and track the same song, say 6 months later, it's going to be a different song.
Yeah.
Because either I've changed the way that I approach it, or I've done some live gigs and the songs moved around a little bit since I first did it. How do you guys find that? Like, is there some sort of, like, everything fits together nicely, or do you think, like, looking back a year after you've released that single, maybe we should have done that, or it's not as cohesive now as it was then? Or
Yeah, it's a great question. It's something that is to be considered. I think, like, for us, when we overthink that too much, the bad thoughts come in. Do you know what I mean? We kind of have a style. We try to make sure our albums have peaks and valleys and tell a story.
Yeah.
But we're not too phased on, I wouldn't have done that bit like that now. Do you know what I mean?
So once it's out, it's like put to bed. It's behind you, you're moving on to another.
We put a lot of effort into the arrangement of a song.
Yeah.
Not many stones don't get turned over, especially like in the early stages. If I'm just putting together some riffs, making an arrangement, I've really fussed over what I think is the best version of the song before I even give it to anyone else. So it's very rarely a year later, geez, I wish I did that different, because I've probably fussed over it already.
Sure.
And then once we get together, like the things that aren't working, we'll work it out. Generally, out of the 3 of us, Patrick, Tyler, and myself, someone will find something that probably could be better and bring it up. And then the other ones will go, oh, yeah, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we seem to be pretty all over it by the time it comes out.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like you've worked out each other's personalities and skills, and you've sort of all working together as a team. And you know,
I think if you've got the same engineer mixing it essentially, and you've used at least some of the same gear, it ends up sounding cohesive enough to no one's going
too cohesive, actually.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I kind of do like it sometimes when I hear an album that sounds like each track's been done in a different studio and different. Like, as long as the songs relate or the style relates, I think tonally I'm intrigued by that. I think some of the best albums, well, not the best, some of the albums I like the most sort of sound like they've been done in different spaces and different times.
Yeah, and it can still work, definitely. Like, some of the albums, like Oscar, like one of my favourite punk bands back in the day, like they had like this album where they've got like 5 different drummers on it,
right?
And like recorded all these different studios. And you don't really notice like when you're listening to the whole album, but if you pay really close attention, you go, actually, those drums all do sound slightly different. Yeah, but the album as a whole still works. Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I knew they went through a lot of drummers, but I didn't know there was. There you go. We're all learning something today. My classic example of that, and I only learned this not long ago, is Tattoo You by the Stones.
Yeah.
That was bits and bobs accumulated over years. My jaw hit the floor when I heard that. I was like, for me, that's a record.
Sure.
That's gone to the studio for, I don't know, a big band back then, probably 18 months or something, and, done the old fashioned way. That blew me away, and recorded on different kinds of tape.
Yeah.
I found out.
Yeah.
I was like, hey.
Yeah. Say what?
Yeah. So I tend to, since I heard that, I'm not too worried about records that sound cohesive, because if you give it to someone in a track listing that flows and makes sense, that's probably what we're most concerned with, is from A to B to the end.
Yeah.
Does it flow good? And if it's recorded in chunks, that's fine. Yeah, it seems to suit what we do anyway.
Sweet. Yeah, it does seem to be a different angle, especially people listening to singles these days, and listening to albums is a joy for me, but I'm not sure it relates to everyone. But I'm sure musicians probably love a good album, but
definitely
the average punter might just go, I think there's 1 or 2 songs on Spotify and then move on to the next.
Yeah.
We love albums. Yeah. I love making records from start to finish, you know what I mean? And I know not everybody listens to albums from start to finish. To be honest, there's lots of albums out there that I might even only like 4 songs.
Yeah.
So I kind of get it. I don't charge people who no, you must listen to it from, but I really enjoy having it documented, and I guess our entire musical life is documented in chunks.
Yeah.
From this year to this year to this year. When I'm an old grey man.
That's cool. So I look forward to hearing the new work you guys are going to be putting out in the near future. Hopefully I can come and see a tour show, or at least check out the record. You guys pressing on vinyl these days, I presume?
Yep. Yeah, we actually sell lots of vinyl.
Great.
Yeah, and like always have.
Yeah.
And it's just not dying, which is awesome. Yeah.
It's a good thing. It's a wonderful thing, actually.
Yeah, I can't believe the CD is the dead format.
I know.
Shocked.
Yeah.
I've still got a couple. I'm pretty retro.
Oh, nice. Where do you listen to it, though?
No, I don't. They just sit on the shelf. Put Spotify on.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks, gents, for joining us.
Our
for
pleasure,
a very
Pete.
Special chat. And, all the best, and we'll see you guys around.
Thanks very much, Pete. It's been great.
Thanks for listening, folks, to another episode of Say It With Guitars. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast, share it around to your mates, leave a good review, and hopefully we'll see you next time.